Welcome to Eleonora's World, my fellow and lovely members of the Lumos Lounge, your destination for magical stories and unforgettable journeys. Don't forget to comment the video. And for all of you that aren't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications. Thank you for joining and helping to keep the magic alive. And now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the story. The Standard You Walk Past by Bafflinghaze. Check out the story on Archive of Our Own. The link is in the video description down below. Chapter 2. Apparently, Granger and Weasley had established a routine of putting Potter to bed every night. Sometimes they quickly left, sometimes they stayed and talked. If it weren't for Draco's well-reasoned paranoia, he would have put up silencing charm. As it was, he gritted his teeth and listened as the Golden Trio chattered about their boring day, filled with schoolwork, Quidditch, and war charities. It seemed, however, putting Potter to bed stopped Potter from his normal midnight wanderings around Hogwarts, and in every one of those nights, Potter's subconscious had decided to walk into Draco's bed instead. Draco dragged himself awake again as Potter's sleep crawled onto his bed. Faintly, he realized that Potter was getting better at that. He got his entire body on, and if Draco left it, Potter would probably figure out to sleep, snuggle under the covers. It felt almost routine to sweep Potter's blankets back, levitate Potter into his rightful bed, and tuck him in. For as long as it took for Potter to stop screaming, Draco let his hand run through Potter's hair. Draco itched to give Potter the modified dreamless sleep Draco made for Mother, but when he searched Potter's bedside table and found empty, old vials of sleeping drafts, Draco knew he couldn't, at the risk of Potter getting an addiction. Making something weaker wouldn't help. Though it explained why Potter hadn't walked into Draco's bed earlier, and Draco could hardly give Potter his moonstone, or teach him how to use occlumency to ward away dreams. Blearily, Draco fell back into own bed. Malfoy! Draco did not turn around and refuse to pick up his pace. He did, however, curl his fingers around the wand in his pocket. He could hear the footsteps of maybe a dozen students behind. Upstart Hufflepuffs and Ravenclaws. "Think you're too good for us? You should be in Azkaban," one of the older boys yelled out. The sound bounced off the walls, leaving behind an echoing Azkaban ban. Ban! Draco's mind cooled. Yes, and it was your Potter who kept me out. Attending Hogwarts as an 8th year had been one of the terms of his probation. He supposed that it was the Wizengamot's idea of microaggression when they had been blocked from throwing Draco into a cell on a rock in the middle of the sea, handing over the law enforcement to schoolchildren who, by virtue of being on the light side, couldn't be at fault. A spell whistled past his ear, clipping the edge of his shield. Anger bubbled up. Draco twisted around, whipping his wand out just as the rest of the group decided to cast. He narrowed his eyes and with a sharp slash, sent the hexes crashing into the castle walls. Fucking kids think they can fucking get me. They fucking never had the fucking Dark Lord living in their homes. Draco barely caught himself, a curse on the tip of his mind. One bloody scratch on any of them, and he'd be shunted back to Azkaban, and he bet these kids knew that. With an inward snarl, he clamped the anger down. The best he could do was cast the strongest shield he could and walk away as though spells weren't being aimed at his back. He did not give them the pleasure of flinching when a hex barreled through and struck him in a starburst of pain, shattering his shield. He concentrated on forming another shield. Soon enough, they stopped as Draco rounded the corner. He allowed himself a wince then and slipped into the nearest empty classroom. Shrugging off his robes, he probed the area around his lower back. Thankfully, a place he could reach. After healing himself, he found no energy to put on his robes and exit the classroom. But he had to, and he emerged from the classroom when he was sure the corridor was empty. Draco slipped into the 8th year dorm behind Lovegood. The common room was filled with students in the space before dinner. Mostly, they ignored Draco as he ignored them. Potter was on one of the chairs by the fire, apparently holding court with his fellow fans. He looked like the righteous git he was, unlike that strangely innocent person in sleep, which reminded Draco of his own lack of sleep. As such, tiredness decided for Draco to skip dinner, and he went straight to bed. For the first time in a while, Draco had an unbroken sleep. He woke from his green grass, blue skies dream without the sound of alarms in his ears. The room was quiet. He checked his detection wards. Granger and Weasley hadn't visited. Potter himself had only been in the room briefly late in the night. Potter had evidently returned to his nighttime wandering. Finally. Draco stretched and got up, feeling his magic becoming more settled and calm already. Mother's owl found him in the kitchens early Sunday morning. Draco had long stopped thinking about how the owls managed to get in or how they found him there. The Sunday Quibbler and Daily Prophet were already neatly folded beside his open books. He retrieved a letter and package from the eagle owl, Teethier. She permitted Draco's absent stroke before flying over to the treats dish the house elves had put down at the table. The package was opened first, a small box of chocolates, their scent, and the box infused with Mother's magic. He didn't eat one, though, and closed the box, turning to the letter. For a moment, Draco traced the darling Draco at the header of the parchment. It was just over a month before the first Hogsmeade weekend when Draco could visit Mother. And Father, he supposed. Darling Draco? How are you, darling? It would please me greatly if you could find time to write to me more often, else I can only assume that your classes are proceeding well. I'm afraid to say I cannot imagine the conduct of the other students and professors. I only hope that you have treated them with courtesy, and they in return. Oh, how I worry about how you are faring. Can you sleep well? Are the moonstones working? In regards to your room assignment with Mr. Potter, I feel the need to remind you to keep your interactions pleasant and polite. I know you may feel anger, dislike, or discomfort in regards to Mr. Potter, but you should see this as a chance. Regardless of whether or not Mr. Potter understands the concept of debt, we do. It's best if you can fulfill those debts now, in case in the future, Mr. Potter may forcefully call upon them. Provide Mr. Potter assistance, if necessary. It may be beneficial if you become closer than just acquaintances, if not friends. Darling, do not deny that you had, at least once, wished to be his friend. I cannot say I fully know your wishes now, but if that desire still exists, I wish for you to be able to fulfill that desire and gain a measure of contentment out of it. Enough of that. Your father and I have completed the renovations of the West Wing and are starting on the East Wing. Your father's house arrest, not surprisingly, has not been a hindrance. We send the house elves to retrieve any necessary items. Be careful if you do decide to visit Hogsmeade or any other wizarding areas, Draco. There are many who forget that we have been tried and acquitted. I have extended my hand to my sister, your Aunt Andromeda. Our meetings are warming. Teddy Lupin is an adorable baby, and you will definitely meet him over the Christmas holidays, if not during your visit next month. Teddy is a metamorph magus, a trait from his mother, your late cousin Nymphadora Lupin Netonks. As yet, he shows no signs of inherited lycanthropy. Your father is recovering, and I am sure that he will send you a letter soon. He sincerely wishes to heal the rift between you and himself. If nothing else, do it for me, Draco. Stay well, Draco. Keep your head up. Love, Mother. Draco slowly folded the letter up and tucked it away. The box of chocolates sat invitingly in front of him, but Pansy and Blaze and Greg and Vincent weren't there for him to share or deny them of the chocolates. Stop being maudlin, Draco, he berated himself. Teethier seemed to hoot in affirmation. Draco gave the bird a wry look and tried not to feel lonely in the smell of the chocolates and his mother's perfume. It was moving on to the 7th day that Draco had an unbroken sleep. He woke from a calm, sea-warm beach dream without the sound of alarms in his ears. The room was quiet. Draco was uneasy. He checked his detection wards. Potter had only been in the room briefly during the night. With no one to hear, Draco let out a frustrated sigh. Potter had to ruin everything. The boy who lived ruined Draco's sleep with his stupid sleepwalking and screaming, and now made Draco didn't put it past Potter's subconscious to have some nefarious plan to slowly torture him. Potter had started to wander the night again, and he looked even more shit. From afar, even Draco could see Potter's glazed eyes, his slouching gait, rumpled clothes, and messier than ever hair. It looked like Potter was catching snatches of sleep in uncomfortable places. He did not look as bad as during the war, Draco had to concede, but worse than a wizard on the light side had the right to be. The next night, when Potter sleep walked into Draco's bed, Draco was relieved. Staring at Potter, curled up at the side of Draco's bed, vulnerable. Merlin? If only Potter knew that he was at the mercy of a Death Eater. Draco lost the resolve to send Potter back to his own bed. Maybe Potter's subconscious realized the superiority of Draco's bed, which, after all, boasted Egyptian cotton and silk and offered the comforting view of the night sky. Maybe the world was offering Draco a way to pay his life debts? Decided, Draco retrieved and draped Potter's blanket over him and shuffled to the other side of the bed so that he wouldn't touch Potter accidentally. He altered his wards, making Potter an exception so that they'd stop alerting Draco. A sense of satisfaction settled over Draco, and he went back to sleep. Draco was puzzled. The landscape, dark, cold, pale blue, was not the image he had in mind when he fell asleep. He turned slowly. The air was frigid, even through the robes he wore. The ground was little more than mucked up dirt, and the skeletons of trees broke the horizon. It looked like the war. The dream shifted suddenly to pitch darkness, confined space. Draco knew then that it wasn't his dream and realized he was rather lucid. Crying, wretched sobs and sniffling made his stomach coil, and he saw, despite the darkness, a young boy hunched up on the mattress. Draco knelt down, and then he could see the scar on the boy's forehead. The boy was Potter, and he was crying. It was Potter's dream. For a moment, panic gripped Draco as he could think of nothing. Mother? What would she do? The tiny corner of his mind ran through his memories, and the panic faded. 6 years old after a nightmare, Mother sang. Draco closed his eyes. It didn't do much. Darkness and darkness. But it helped him recall the music, the words. He began gently, trying to channel his mother, and a distant part of him felt and remembered. It was a lullaby his mother made just for him, and by Black tradition, it was a song about the stars. In the dream, Draco's voice worked perfectly. It was a long song, but it took to the second repeat before little Potter stopped crying, and on the third verse, as Draco settled against the wall of the room more comfortably, that little Potter climbed into his lap, burying his face. As the last chorus faded on the third repeat, so did the dream. Draco woke up, and his eyes blinked lazily. They talked about common things, sometimes just Hermione and Ron while Harry dozed. The dream was Potter's, and Draco knew enough of the feeling of dreams to know that it was at least partly true. Potter had dreamt of a room so small, Draco could not stand straight in it, a mattress left on the ground, and a little Potter in the darkness. Draco put Potter back into his own bed before he could wake up and accuse Draco of something ridiculous. Draco cast a warming charm and tucked him in. Potter's face turned towards him, relaxed in sleep. Normal. Friendly even. Not the boy who rejected Draco's hand in first year. Not the boy to whom Draco owed life debts. Not the boy who now barely ever looked at Draco. Draco's stomach twisted and he scowled and turned away. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and share your thoughts. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new story. If you'd like to support the channel, check out my Amazon wishlist or consider making a donation. Every little bit helps to keep the magic alive. See you next time, and until then, take care and keep dreaming.